Yeah. Oh, but you said Kaylee. I don't know how David sounded like Kaylee, but it's two syllables.
Well, welcome everyone to the July 6th Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Adjustments meeting. We're going to start off with Board of Zoning Adjustments for this evening. This time I'm going to call the meeting to order. If you would join me for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. David, can you get a roll call, please?
Sandra?
Here.
Kaylee?
Here.
Nancy?
Here.
Jason? Here. Fallon?
Here.
Kim?
Here.
I believe all members are present. We've got before us approval of the agenda for the BZA. Is there any amendments for the BZA portion?
No changes to this one. Motion to approve. Or second.
Fallon made a motion to approve the agenda for BZA. Nancy second motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Agenda is approved. We move on to the next item of business, which is BZA 2026-02, which is variance request for the Hager Local Trust for property located at 10192 South Morningstar Road in Cave Springs, parcel ID 0510267464. This is a subject parcel that's east side of Morningstar, roughly just under 10 acres. Got a single family home. Dave, if you would bring us back up to speed with this and what this request is for, please.
So the request is for a variance for the street right-of-way dedication that is common on any sort of splits. The property as it sits right now has a existing residence on it, and the 90-foot right-of-way dedication actually ran through part of the front porch. So the applicant has come back and requested a variance for a portion of the property that's going to be left, the original track really, where the house is going to be, to take that right-of-way and shrink that dedication of right-of-way, and shrink it by 10 feet to get it out of the front porch of the house. This is from a previous track split that we looked at earlier. On the back page of the packet, we should have a picture of the proposal where they have track 3A and 3B. 3B was the portion that was being parceled off. They're keeping the right-of-way dedication in front of that track, is what they're showing, and then they have the right-of-way dedication going back to 35 feet on the existing parent parcel track 3A.
That's 35 feet to the center line of the road.
Yes, ma'am, that's what's supposed to be.
So you had earlier mentioned that maybe we could do collector at 70 feet, so this would accommodate that.
The 35 foot is the collector, yes.
And it's anticipated for an arterial.
So, yes, what the
Master Street Plan.
master street plan showed was a future arterial running through there. You know, one time, the old master street plan had, this was not even actually in case where it was been built. They had it listed as that. Then we had Morningstar continuing south. When we had to run through the cemetery kind of location. we kind of brought all that with them, so we'll revise it next year. But we kept the arterial listed.
Okay, so there's a public hearing for this component of the meeting. Is the Board of Zoning have questions or comments before we open up public comment?
What's the age of the home that's encouraging it in the right way?
The age of the home. That home, we did discuss this during the work session. It's been there for decades.
For a number of years.
Okay, so
Probably when it was a dirt road.
so new condition, so there's no
It's during the work.
influence coming down anytime soon? No future possibility of development to something else?
I don't know, we probably need to talk to the applicant about that.
Let's open up public comment. Is there anyone here who wants to make public comment related to the matter? If you would, please approach the podium, state your name and address, please.
Yeah, hey, good evening. So my name is Tyler Brown. I live adjacent to the piece of property just to the south of the parcel in question, so I appreciate the opportunity to talk. So first off, I just want to be clear, this is not, no comments here are directed at the applicants at all. I totally get real estate issues are difficult. There's no doubt about that. However, I think the Planning Commission really has an obligation to apply the variance standards consistent in a manner that protects the long-term public interest here. So based on this notice, from what I can tell, the applicant seems to be requesting a variance to reduce the right-of-way because it encroaches upon an existing home. While I understand this is a practical concern, I do not believe that there is sufficient justification for it. Frankly, I remain very concerned about the right-of-way on Morningstar Road, given that there are a number of development projects both on the road and around. So there's going to be a lot of traffic on that road over time. From what I understand, variances are intended to be rare exceptions, really from established zoning regulations. They're not meant to be granted because it's inconvenient, I would just say. The burden, I guess, is on the applicant here to explain and demonstrate the hardship that was not self-created by trying to subdivide the property. And I just want to make sure that it does not harm the public interest. And at this point, I'm just not sure that it really explains all that. I would urge the commission to consider the public purpose behind a right-of-way requirement. So obviously these standards exist for long-term corridor planning and frankly safety reasons. So once you grant a right-of-way reduction, those opportunities may be permanently limited. So let's think about that longer term. To my understanding, variance is conveyed with the deed regardless of changes in ownership. So this would be a permanent issue to that corridor. I think it's important because infrastructure changes are clearly going to need along that corridor on South Morningstar Road. I think that obviously there's going to be changing traffic patterns. There's going to be a lot of development, like I said. And I think that there even could be some public service needs, utilities, et cetera, et cetera. I really think that the commission should be cautious about reducing public right-of-way protections for a single parcel along that corridor that, again, is going to create a natural choke point on Morningstar Road and could, frankly, compromise that corridor over the long term. I'm also concerned about the precedent of the decision. So if variances are granted without really strong factual findings, it does become increasingly difficult for you to deny similar requests in the future. And quite frankly, if you do this over a repeated amount of time, it undermines, obviously, the ordinances that are in place, and quite frankly, I hate to say it, but undermines the Planning Commission themselves. So ultimately, the question here is not really whether granting the variance would be helpful to the applicant. The question is whether the standards have been met and whether granting that request would remain consistent with the city's long-term planning goals and, quite frankly, the broader public interest. So for those reasons, I just respectfully request that the Planning Commission denies the variance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any further comments? Public comments?
Chuck is on his way, but he's representing the applicant and just a public.
Is anyone else here to make public comment related to the matter? Ma'am, you know how far out he is?
Well, he's coming down from airport road, so he's just like stop on me.
I'll give him a brief moment. Do you have any public comments you can add? I wanted to give the applicant a couple more minutes. I'm going to make some statements that kind of go back to what you had addressed, and also I don't know if you listened to the work session that we had 3 weeks ago now. Some of the points that you made were questions that the Planning Commission had asked, which was, how can this impact that public good because of what we had as a plan, why we created as a master street plan that was adopted by the city as a whole, right? Why was this not conveyed at the time the plat was presented for approval? Why just now was it discovered when surveyors had the opportunity to make sure that those structures were appropriately located and illustrated? What about when the property is conveyed? Can there be short-term, long-term commentary put on the plat? Which again was another question that goes back to legal about how that be worded if it was to be with an existing structure or non-conveyed. So if it stays as is under the same ownership, what can that be as that, can it exist as it currently is? But as soon as that property is conveyed or that structure is modified, hence then it follows what the master street plan would indicate. These were comments that Planning Commission through the Work Center has asked. So I think those are commentary that's in the same vein that you described in your public comments. So we've been waiting 5 minutes.
Jason, just one question. The wording was that you would put it right at his porch line, right?
The burden is that it goes through the structure,
Oh, it goes through it?
yeah, or is what was indicated, part of the right porch, the porch, which is not the permanent structure, but the front door that's the porch of the structure. But these are things that should have been evidentiary when they came through with the tract split request.
Because we assumed as a city we were taking that right, we were getting
Well-
the right of way dedicated for future growth.
Correct.
And now that seems like we would be creating an overlay situation, just what we have on the road.
Yeah, and it's not what we want as a city.
We are trying to get away from that, so I don't know why we would support giving away the right of way. Then in the future, if we want it back, we need to probably buy it back.
Yeah,
That's our.
and I don't believe that's.
That's what we used to do. And I'm not sure if the variance, is there a reason it's coming up today versus, I mean, is there future plans for the road there that's impacting the home that's there, or are we just trying to change it now that we've already got it approved for the tracks? It seems the timing of it is unfortunate. They've got no track split, but now they want to come back and say, we're not gonna give you the right way that we said we're giving.
Yes, I think from the work session, what we talked about was when we had asked for that dedication, I don't think it was necessarily conveyed to the owners clearly. And then the family, I think, noticed it and then started asking some questions with the real estate agent, and then the real estate agent, I think, and the owners came back and started having some conversations, is my understanding. There's kind of 3 different parties that have been involved in this.
Quite frankly, it's a failure upon the
Right.
applicant and their partners that put it together. It's, until any development occurs on that property, the street improvements will occur.
Right, but I have the question if there is a realtor involved, or are we looking to sell and develop, and then we give that right away back to them, and then we don't.
That's what the work session that we were talking about, was that's not favorable.
No.
So we're in here at 10 minutes waiting, 9.5 minutes. In the effort of everyone else, I think the opportunity is closing. If there's no one else that wants to make public comment related to the matter.
It's 3 minutes up. I don't know if that would work or not.
You're driving a truck.
Yes, big black one. Yeah. Okay, that's it.
All on Sunday.
Let's see. Yeah, it's
Probably not big.
Where are we at? What's going on? Sorry I'm late. I'm unavoidably detained.
Waiting for your comments.
Well, I'm not sure what there would be any.
So I'm sorry, say your name and
My
address.
name's Chuck Bell. We're the surveying firm representing the sellers, and this was kind of just thrown on us last minute because the family that was splitting it off felt like that it was gonna destroy the property value of the house. Or not even make it usable, but if the right of way goes through the middle of the house or through a portion of the house. So that's what they're trying to do, is just get the house where it's usable and doesn't cause any harm or undue stress to the family and the owners of the house. Probably should have been caught when we took it through plat the first time, but we're here asking for a variance for that part of it. Did I answer all the question up front there? I kind of got through quick.
What's the, explain how this is, the burden has been shifted to the Board of Zoning. Why this burden is not on yourself as a surveyor or the applicant? Because this was processed.
Well, it's a planning thing all the way through it, because when you do the planning part of this, the planners should have caught this as well. I'm not saying I shouldn't have caught it. I would have normally not caught it. You know, I review a plat, I look at it. But it's also part of the planning process. We have reviews that take care of this. I'm not necessarily saying that it's a fault, but it's something we should have probably all caught and discussed it at that time. We're still going to have the same conversation, still be doing the same thing. But it should have been caught during the track split process and been a waiver or a release of that area at that time, an adjustment on the plat. We just didn't take care of it at that time. So it comes here, and what it's done is it's created a basically, I don't know if you can live in the house now or not. I don't know what regulations it would be. I don't think you could legally kick them out, but what it would do is make it where they couldn't resell the house very easily. It's going to be hard to sell that house if they wanted to sell it. Or if they wanted to do an addition onto it, it's going to make it very difficult to do that too. So we're just trying to release that portion that we should have probably taken care of during the initial original track split process.
Board, do you have any questions for the applicant? Or other statements that we haven't already made?
I feel like we've already said them, but, right, someone should have caught it previously, but that should have been supplied on the documents that were brought forward for our planning commission to review, and if it wasn't there, we have no knowledge of that.
Well,
So,
yeah, they were.
if we reviewed it, and the house is in there, it's already been, if the client, the applicant agreed to dedicate that to the city, our decision now is if we go and give that back, because now the road can't be updated, it's gonna create an imperfect situation, which we have all over the city, and we're trying to eliminate that over the past several years.
In all reality, the city's basically getting the land for free anyway. You're not paying anything for it. So you're, you know, look, there's kind of a give and take. We just did one in Springdale, same thing. You know, it just was a process of when you do your streets, you update your master street plans. These houses exist already. So you're coming in, you're actually asking the client to donate land to the city anyway, free. You're not paying for it.
Which is.
That's incorrect, because you've asked for a change in the property. So that's what triggers, there's your trigger.
Well,
You've asked for a
even the state highway department, when they come through, they do a fee title for your land, which is
a
a
track split.
So however you want to look at it, what I'm telling you is that this is created because of a track split. It could have been asked for then, yes, but it also could have been noticed by staff and everybody else too. So yes.
Yes.
I'd say as a surveyor, that's the due diligence to make sure things are on the plat correctly.
Sure, everybody does. I didn't deny that.
Is there any other comments we have? All right. At this point in time, if there's anybody else that has any public comments to be made regarding the matter, if you approach the podium, please. I'm going to close public comment related to the matter. Public comment is now closed. All right, we're going to session related to the subject parcel, which again is parcel ID 0510267464, related to BZA 2026-02 variance request for the irrevocable trust for the property located at 10192 South Northstar Road, asking for a variance to right of way from 90 feet to 45 feet off center line, 35 feet for consideration. Again, work session, we talked through this. I believe we have concerns with the matter. What kind of precedent does it stand? What does it create? How would this apply? Would it apply? Could it apply as long as the building is standing or the property is no longer being made? No changes are made to it?
Did the attorney clarify that? I'm sorry.
I don't know that we've got an answer on that.
Do we have?
No good answer. I mean, nothing historically or something like that has been done, and nothing to draw on for it.
As planning commissioner, I would have to look at it and say this, upon the track split, if it had been brought in, that way we would look at it and discuss it then. But we very much are looking to maintain our right of way where all of our master street plans indicate what size we need. We don't want another main road situation. I can't justify, I wouldn't have probably approved it without having a split.
Correct, if we had all the information.
We would have looked at it differently. And so now we've already done that approval, but now we can't go back and just cherry pick what we want to undo. And I see the hardship, I do, I understand. There's porch that runs through there. I would need some information. Is that porch structural? Could it be removed? I don't know exactly what we're looking at, but the right way's already there, and there's not a road being built today, so I have to wonder why we're needing the variance today. If there came a point where there was actually an issue or concern, then I think that would warrant maybe a hardship conversation. But nothing's happening actively there today, so I can't justify giving that property back and the city not having that for the future road in 10 years.
Especially when the master street plan
Right.
calls for arterial. And that was also, like David, as you stated, that was what Mintville had identified as street as, should be in the city of Mintville. So if we went and surveyed the adjacent cities, we tried to make sure our roads that met each other, they matched, right? They met the same precedent. So I'm failing to see hardship here, but it's a self-inflicted hardship, not a.
And it might be 20 years down the road.
It could be.
And that's, I don't see a hardship today, so if we're ready for a motion. I have a motion to deny.
Second.
All right, I got a motion for denial. Alan's made that motion. Nancy second the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, that request is denied.
Thank you very much for your time.
Next item of business is for adjournment. Get a motion for adjourn, PZA.
I'll motion.
Second.
Alan made a motion for adjournment. Nancy second the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We are now adjourned. Next item of business will be for Planning Commission. I'm going to call the Planning Commission to order at this moment in time. David, give us a roll call, please.
Second.
Here.
Kate.
Here.
Nancy.
Here.
Jason.
Here.
Alan.
Here.
We have before us the agenda for this evening's Planning Commission meeting. Is there any amendments to the agenda? If not, may I get a motion, please?
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Nancy made a motion for approval of the agenda. Alan second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The agenda is approved. Next item of business is the meeting minutes. This is from May 4th meeting. We just got the copy of these handed to us this afternoon. There are a few typo issues. Is there any other amendments that need to be made to it, or would you all like a little more time to review?
other than the typo on that one saying I didn't see it.
That's like real long. One and a half.
So that's the one, is that the only?
There's both, I mean, there's the name,
Okay.
there's a few instances.
Yeah, oh, okay.
But it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
No, okay, yeah.
Well, if you guys have a comfort level with it, I think the motion for.
No, I think that minutes be approved with the, subject to the typographical errors being corrected.
All right, Nancy made a motion to approve the correction of the typographical errors. Katie will second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Those are unanimously approved. Now, this time we'll have public comments. Is there any, this time we'll have some, if there's anything that's not on the agenda that anyone would like to bring to the planning commission's attention, this is the opportunity to do that. If you would like to do so, please approach the podium, state your name and address. If there's no one that has any public, just general public comments for the planning commission, I'll close this section. Close on public, general public comments. Next item of business is ST 2026-07. This is for a lot line adjustment requested by Castor Land Surveys for property located at 600 and 602 Ashley Circle in the Bay subdivision. This is two parcels, 0511067000 and 0511066000. The Dubed and Bajaj parties, I believe, is the families that that's related to. David, if you want to give us a staff report as well as it relates to this subject parcel, or group of two parcels.
Yes, sir. These are two existing single-family home subdivision lots in the way subdivision. They're split on the east and west property lines that they share, respectively, by property line, like relative north and south. There is a existing privacy fence that actually gives a little bit more yard to one property than what the property line actually shows, and the property owners would like to adjust the property line to run with the fence that's existing. Previously, in work session, looking at it, it looked like part of the reason for that, historically, was the electrical utility boxes and things are probably located in that corner section, and at some point in time, someone just fenced around, or that's where an existing corner post was, and they went to it. Very small adjustment of land. It only affects the northeast and northwest corner of the two respective properties.
And this is lot 29 and lot 30 of the Nevada subdivision plat, I believe, for the record.
Yes.
And both applicants, or both landowners have come forward with this. I know the surveyor is bringing forth that as the applicant's representatives.
Yes, and we've dealt with the surveyor, that respectively is the only group that the city's dealt with. The survey at the back
Has a place for signature
has
for
a
both.
place for both signatures, like we talked about at the work session. So, I mean, I would expect all of these things to be in line.
And tell David, do they share a driveway?
No, I don't think they share a driveway. It's got just a small amount of green space that splits it. If you go to like the ortho map, yeah, they just have a little space on the northern end of that website.
As long as all the homeowners are in favor, I don't see a problem.
I don't know if there's an applicant, we haven't heard anybody actually speak to this yet. I let Castor know that this was going to be on the agenda.
Well, it hasn't changed the boundary lines of the subdivision.
No.
The boundaries stay the same. It's just changing these two lots respectively inside the subdivision. And it is, it's fractional square, it's, you know, it's not a, we did math the other day on how much that the triangle piece is, and it was very small fractional acreage component.
The original lot 30 was 32,267 square feet. It's moving up to 33,438. So it's like 1,200 square foot of space, roughly.
Yeah, which is basically how that triangulates from the electrical service or that transformer is placed.
Yeah, and yes, within that 1,200 square foot of space, there's rear setbacks and side setbacks and utility grants and nothing that's, should be.
We verified that there's
No.
no setback encroachments or anything. They should all be fine.
This,
Yeah.
it appears that they are, but one of the questions that didn't get updated on this plat was if that property boundary changes, we have the side setbacks that would project off of this new boundary line,
Probably creating issues.
which should be noted on the plat.
The distance off the house is noted, I think it's 24 feet.
Yeah, it's the narrowest portion of where because it's a triangular shaped lot. The narrowest component of that doesn't change. It's just projected parallel to the house.
To the home, yeah.
But the building setback is not illustrated on the
No, I
plat
agree.
adjustment, which
We
should be shown,
Yeah,
should be illustrated on the plat.
It's R1, but that'll be 10 feet, but they should still have, maybe 24 feet, but plenty of space.
What's 10 feet?
It should be 7, but you got a
I was
utility.
thinking on R1 it was higher than 10, but it's still 7.
It's still 7. There's a utility easement that will go through there. They'll have a projection off of that boundary line that will become a new building side setback, which needs to be illustrated on the plat. Planning commissioners, any other concerns? Okay, again, it was making sure both owners are in concert with each other in their request, which it sounded like it is, but we can confirm that. But we want assurance of that.
Is there a POA, letter approval that we would need?
We did ask that question. I think we did ask that question, if there was any type of POA adjustment letter from them. I don't know if we got an answer back from
I've
them.
never received anything on that.
Is there POA still active?
Don't know the answer to that question.
I think it's on the county books, it says it is,
Yes.
but is there an active body?
Are they actually governing that?
Yes. So,
So that should be an easy ask or fine for both property owners to get a letter from their POA acknowledging and okaying procedure review. That combined with both applicants or both residents being okay with it. I don't see an issue.
you want a contingency or?
Yes.
We have so many things to address, we need to get the setback on there.
I was gonna say, do you want to do it with contingency, or do you want to see these things done first? Or just do it with contingency? We got 3 items. Alright. Who wants to make a motion? Done?
Well, I might have missed part of
No.
it. Yeah.
We move that we approve it contingent upon a few things happening before it gets final approval. They need to add the side setbacks for the building with the new property line. Ensure that both homeowners are on there, both slots are there for signature, but confirm. POA letter of approval, and then
So that was a motion for approval with contingencies. Nancy seconded that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That was approved with those contingencies. Move on to the next item of business. Next item of business is a public hearing related to RZ 2026-04. This is for the Hartman family, property located at 550 North Main Street. Parcel ID 05-101-30000. Talked about this at a work session. It's about half an acre, just over half an acre. It's currently zoned A1 agriculture.
Yes, sir.
And David, if you would just give us an update and clarity on it's R2 single family is what they're requesting? Is that correct?
That was the original request.
Okay.
We had changed it to R3, we had talked about changing it to R3.
The request, the
Yes,
formal
the original
request is
request
R2.
R2. Yes, and I reached out to the applicants, I believe, yes, that, yeah, saying they were here. We discussed that. If you want to talk to them about that, they were amenable to the R3s.
Okay. All right, so, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, nothing has changed in this since we had the work session. Don't think we've had anybody sending letters back. No one's really had any issues with this.
Okay. Well, since we have a public hearing, I'm going to open the floor to public comment. If you would like to make a public comment related to the matter, please approach the podium, state your name and address, please. Public comments now. As the applicants give you the opportunity to make any public comments related to the matter.
Any comments? We were good.
If you would do me a favor, just approach it since you're here for the record.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us what you're trying to do.
So we're trying to extend the garage is what we're doing, and the setbacks are just too large for getting a 3-car garage that we're trying to reposition. It's going to face west towards the highway, so we're putting porches on the front and the back. It's just completely improving the property is what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay, because the A1 setbacks are much larger than a residential,
Exactly.
and especially this is non-conforming A1, right?
Right. It's half an acre. Yes.
Planning commissioners, do you have comments or questions for the applicant while public comment period is open? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other further comments? If not, I'm going to close public comment related to the matter. Public comments are closed, so go to session. So the request was R2, as we come back to this, RZ 2026-04 for 550 North Main Street, parcel ID 05-101-30000. Currently zoned A1. The formal request was for R2 rezoning. We talked through this at work session and said that R2 was not the right acreage size, it's more R3. And that was the difference there was basically the size of the lot would indicate R3. We did talk about sewer.
Yeah.
It's currently got septic on there, which is technically non-conforming, but this would be something that's grandfathered, just on the cleanup of the zoning and changing setbacks, right? Wouldn't require, we didn't believe in the work session it would require any connections to the sewer or anything like that. It would just be, how do we address the non-conforming component to that? Those some questions.
So I think the commentary boiled down to we want a lot size that is correct and non-conforming to sewer. We want a lot size that's incorrect zoning and, is somewhat conforming to whether or not they have sewer.
Right.
I think the R3 was a fine choice, and it is conforming at least that way. And at some point in time, there will be the potential that that property can connect to sewer. So I think, this is the better move to actually have it appropriate to the size of the lot.
Commissioners, questions, comments, statements?
Did we look at it in terms of the survey, setbacks, or how we agree with that? Or are we just looking at it in terms of?
Just looking in terms of the rezone, which would then trigger.
That's what I wanted, there's no surveying? Did we, we're looking at it?
They got a legal description, but they did not get a full survey,
Okay.
just the reason.
There will be no dedicating of right of way or new drawings showing setbacks?
No, we haven't done that in the past with just reasons. They have an existing survey, but we just have to provide a legal description of what that was to utilize. And I don't think we've done any dedication driveways or anything like that, just rezonings. I don't think there's anything that says we should be doing that.
Well, and if I remember correctly, when I looked at the parcel, correct me if I'm wrong, when I looked at this, the state highway right of way is already there.
Exactly.
And I'm wondering if that's noted anywhere or where that's going. Have we looked at it?
It's pretty simple where it's at right there. Actually, no, it doesn't. That part stayed the same.
Is it just
It's-
past somebody?
Yeah, just past it is the roundabout where it connects.
That part will technically, in theory, become Page Springs Main Street.
This component right here.
Right.
Because it'll be just south of the roundabout, which would no longer be
Yes.
state. But based on the placement of the house, I know we snapped some dimensions here. It's nested pretty close to the back of the parcel, the east side of the parcel. We surmise that the lateral field is in the front yard, most of the front yard, which will prevent any type of building modifications to the front of the house over there. And yeah, what we understood was the garage, like you indicated, was changing the direction of the garage, and garage how it goes, which is where the driveway kind of curves as it is. So it's just really adjusting those building setbacks to the reason, which would allow the structures to fall into building.
I'm not in favor of R2, but I can support R3.
And for the reasons, size of the lot. The size of the lot would indicate R3.
Setbacks are the same.
Yeah, same setbacks.
So
So what we,
amending the request then?
well, that's what we would do. We would recommend, we're gonna put this forward to the city council, because this would be a recommendation from the planning commission, would be a recommendation to make it an R3 zone based on the the existing parcel size. And the elements to make it non-conforming A1 and get it into a conforming zone. So, as long as the applicants are agreeable to that change of request from R2 to R3, which I believe they are, I'm seeing cat nods, so, that's what we'll do for recommendation. So, you guys good with that? Does anybody want to make that recommendation?
I move that we recommend a rezone on this property to city council from the A1 radius down to R3.
All right, so Nancy's made a motion to recommend the council changing the non-conforming A1 to an R3, single-family residential for this subject parcel. Katie, do you second that motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. So this is approved for recommendation. This will be in front of the city council at the end of the month. Is that correct, David?
Yes. Just do this one.
So until that goes through them, that's the next step. Thank you all. All right, so the next item of business relates to SD 2026-06 for Foxwood Estates, property located at 579 Ford Lane, parcel ID 05-10036-000. This is the 25-acre parcel that we've been discussing with R3 single family. There's been some dialogue with Crown Control. David, I'm going to turn this over to you. Give us the update from where we're at. Because I know when we talked about the work session, we didn't have to do some middles at that time. We got some stuff that's some information came in.
Right. So since the work session, we had a meeting with the applicant, in-person meeting, looking at some different sewer options, things like that. Had some discussions about the property as a whole. The applicant requested active transportation plan and some other maps, so we got those to them. They resubmitted end of the week before last, first or second, something like that. Passed the resubmittal on MCE, so that stuff's there. I think this will be the third submittal. It's kind of in the active review process. That was after the meeting we had with them before us also. So at this point, I've provided you all with the responses. That's a separate stick together document that's at the back of your packet. And then I've got the most recent plat that's been submitted. You know, we want to do that, but I think there's some questions and things that the applicant has from the commission that we'll go through also. So how we want to move forward, feel like the applicant probably has some things that they want to do.
Okay, so we want to start there? Is that just okay? All right, so the applicant, you've got some questions. Let's go ahead and have a dialogue.
Yes, good evening. Taylor Manley with Craft and Cole Associates. I guess we'll start. So yes, we made the resubmittal to McClellan in the city. All technical comments that we don't have much pushback on. As we mentioned, you've got the response letter. If there's any back and forth related to the last submittal, we'll work that out with Adam and his team. I'm not too worried about the technical review side of things. And then on the planning side, we're meeting all the requirements of the rezone and the variance that we got towards the end of last year. And the preliminary plat is available to you to be voted on if we choose to tonight, but if we need a little bit more time, we can talk about that as well. But the big thing I think from our work session was comments about trail, active transportation related items, and the street improvements that we're doing along Ford Lane. We're fine with the street improvements. I don't know if it was captured in the last resubmittal, but we'll make sure that it is. It was basically the additional taper width that y'all wanted going north a little bit off of our property. Talked to the applicant about that. Not a substantial issue there that we can accommodate with our plans pretty easily. As David mentioned, we're working through some sewer back and forth with the city. Either way, we'll have sewer on the site. It doesn't substantially change our on-site design. It's more related to the off-site and how we tie into the existing city infrastructure. So mostly technical items there. So I think the main point of discussion for us is the trail portion of the work. So I guess before we jump into that, I want to make sure you all agree. If there's any back and forth we need prior to trail conversation, we can have that discussion first and then we can jump into that.
Now, the off-site improvements, like especially with that on the adjacent to the north of the church, there's going to be drainage through there, that can tie in with that taper.
Yes, sir.
All kind of in that same area. I agree that was a big portion of the conversations we had related to those items.
Yes, sir. Yeah, right now, conversations are still being worked on with the church. We haven't gotten anything set in stone as far as an easement for that construction. I guess what I would say is we would like to move forward with some sort of condition upon getting that easement. If we can't get that easement, we've got to come back and figure something else out.
You were also going to work with the city of Rogers about their waterway that was coming through there as well, and
So my client just informed me, we believe on the north side of the site, that's where the water line's running east-west, just north of us, off of our property, and we're not aware of any easement requisitions on our side. So I'm not aware of the water line impacting our direct development at this
I
time.
can speak directly to that. I spoke to the people we bought it from on the way over here this evening. They wanted to put it on their place and they didn't let it. And what they settled with was going on beyond their north property line, lower end of that field of the churches. But they did not give them easement.
So there is no Rogers easement going across.
On our property.
That was what, I think that was the question of,
Right.
make sure that's addressed, no surprises.
Sure.
Right? Okay. No, then we spent a healthy amount of time talking about active transportation.
Yes.
So, thank you, commissioners. Do you have anything else related to those offsite agreements that we talked about? Just got some time to get indication on it. Still not resolved, but, and Adam, did you have any other commentary on those on-site improvements that was out?
No, they met with the city, Public Works, 2 weeks ago, I believe, to kind of go through some of that looks like, as far as the future for gravity moving west versus the force main upsize along forward. I think that we've got some better direction on that as far as the upsizing along forward. The lift station design that's in here is updated, so we're going through those to make sure that from a technical standpoint, everything is lining out for future growth in that area versus, with Hillcrest being right across the street and those type of items. So we are planning to finish up that review this week, Thursday, I believe, to get back to the applicant. They've addressed the comments that we had on the previous review, just making sure that those comments don't affect anything else. And then the new design with sewer and the drainage get worked out.
Okay.
So we feel comfortable with the project as it is right now. There's just some items that we still need to review this week to make sure that we're good moving forward with everything. But that's a technical item as opposed to some of these planning and active transportation.
Right. Well, that's what I wanted to address those, if we haven't got any of those addressed before we move on to active transportation. It sounds like the planning commission we're ready to start talking active transportation, so let's start there.
May I lay this out?
Absolutely.
Here. All this is the city's master street plan and master trail plans. And I think the main thing to point out is the active transportation plan. The main thing to point out is the active transportation plan is not, well, I guess the master street plan was updated last year. So the active transportation plan has not been updated in concurrence with the street plan. And the main thing that I would point out, so we talked a little bit about east side of the Ford Lane and west side for the north-south trail. So Hillcrest already has a little bit installed there, and then we talked about the available room along Brentwood and everything else being undeveloped. Right. And so it makes sense to leave it on there. To me, since there's already a portion of it on the west side built, it makes sense to leave it all on the west side. They just provide one crossing somewhere along Ford Lane for the east-west connection. And then my point with the east-west connection is because the master street plan updated the only street this pink line is the master street plan, right? Roughly south of us, it kind of swings up where it ties into the crest point. The west or east side of the crest, there's the size of that was installed. That's the front of that road down here. This portion of this connection, at least specifically this portion, seems very feasible to me at this point in time. This whole crest is very put out. Getting a trail through there to get over to that shit is likely not to happen. I mean, this portion is still good, I guess, development here, but then you're still plant up there. In my mind, it makes sense to try to keep your connection over to this bird island lane through an east-west connection down here that can get this way. And the other point I want to make with just being a cyclist and stuff, I work pretty often, a trail through a residential subdivision that has, you'll end up with 20 driveway crossings that would not be very comfortable, especially with people backing out of driveways. I don't see a lot of people using the trail, in my experience, in the subdivision you use on the street. So, all that to say, I think the collector, or the trail plan should be updated to follow the collector with a true side path that will not have curb cuts along it, or at least not straight like that, a residential subdivision. And that would be true for the trip.
So, did you look here and here?
For,
Just want to go up here?
well, the collector's already shown here.
Yes, but this isn't, currently this is not like, yeah, so it's not there, it's not feasible. But if you came down back here, I would think that would be full on the property line.
Well, and I wonder if it's not necessarily blocking the street with all the driveways cutting into it, but it's actually a trail connection through there, like some of the other neighborhoods are doing. So it's not necessarily like along the street or all,
Right.
you know, not everyone's backing out over it. It's kind of letting it on the side or handle it with drainage.
Well, in this one, if it's on the north side of the property, then what I would say is you don't stick it in someone's backyard. If this water line easement is coming in here, that might be a good place to put it. It's on the north side.
Because right now this collector already goes through the middle of the property, it's not at a property line. So you could be adding even more for a trail through your
I
property.
think the collector was already across for
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying, if you're getting an east-west connection there, there's a collector at some point in the future. And I would say that the collector may happen at the same time as any other development over here with the traffic issues. You know, like, at some point, those two are gonna go hand in hand, whereas you're still going to have an east-west connection that's just possible.
Because this is the route here, this route right here is the ones that showed up at our public hearing. But it's not this property, they were upset about this property.
Well, what I recall, the upsetness was in the street itself, right? The thing that I've been thinking about regularly is how do we get people across here? Right, we know we gotta get people across here. It's this, because this subdivision came first, the Hillcrest, the Young Trail. But I go and jogging multiple times, going across and come over here and go back is not good practice. There at some point it should be a crossing, right? But you know, and so and these are some of the areas that we have on the agenda that's acting up, right? This was a vision, right? You go with the master street plan last year, it was like time flies. We debated on where this goes, and part of it was we looked at topo maps and we were trying to figure out how it's going to go and do that in here as an example.
But it also lines up with what we
It did, and so that was the commentary like how we the streets not knowing where this might be from, how that's going to be made, and then this came in after. So we started the conversation, how do we, is this the right spot to put that across? Anything on maybe here makes sense, but we know that there's going to be, the problem is this is hardly going to be peaceful across until we as a city say, okay, this is where we're going to fill the gaps. And we haven't got to commitment on what is those gaps, how we have to do the gaps at this moment in time. Things are still in the air over here, right? Nothing's formalized here, but there's going to be some improvement difference here.
Well, yeah, like this, there's going to, I mean, it's gonna be an awkward end if there's not a trail.
That's what's property, right? And this was, yeah, to your point, that was a discussion, was, hey, we have this trail going through Hillcrest, and needs a new subdivision issue taken up. And one of your colleagues was working on this, and he was talking about illustrating some trails and doing some things over here on the side of it, so that would connect, and the possibility of shooting something going west was illustrated. So, you know, we talk through those things, it might make sense that that goes right there, right? This is as is with the master street plan, and that gets that connectivity here, makes one crossing a single crossing. But we've got to really, for safety purposes.
So David's pointing that out, there's enough room there. There's 30 feet. Yeah, there's quite a bit of space off there. There were people parking cars there. Friday, because I drove down there and I pulled into the sheriff's truck and I sat there.
I want to say there's 30 feet back in the road.
That's quite a bit.
Space, 25 or 30 feet. So the 10 is a 12-foot trail.
I think there were 10 typical sides, you know, typical sections as well.
So there's 10, and let's just say there's 20. 20 is a safe number. There's room in place over there. Now, there's a caveat. I don't know what the back of the center back there is.
We could get that.
So we need the light. So,
I believe there's right of way dedicated there from the road.
there is from the original plat, but I don't know if it, with it being the street updated, how that reflects. Really what we are asking of you all as we're all trying to be a good steward of the community is, how do we make this flow for the future?
Sure.
And make it, give the city a good product. I understand where you're coming from.
Well, actually, I've been on the position because I'm doing the thing that is ultimately most cost effective for my client, but I do actually truly believe that it's not a situation that I would in the right.
And I'm hearing what you're saying. I agree. That's what the conversations we've had is, how do we keep those curb cuts where it's in the, yes. And running through the middle of the subdivision based on how it's laid out may not be, but basically what we're trying to do is we're both thought and conversation around it. How do we collectively solve this for the community in the future?
Because based on what you're saying, not going through the whole subdivision, if this is developed and this goes through, then that's being the whole subdivision.
It would be along the street.
It could be a street. That wouldn't be necessarily subdivision term. Now, what it does open up the conversation with us too, though, is kind of back to what I was talking about a month ago or so, was, do we have well, if it's one crossing, it comes down to how much room do we have here, back in Brentwood, which side of the street was it go to? Like, if we're gonna have to create a crossing, let's say the crossing right here, do we then go your subdivision side, by the church, that's how we get down, maybe a crossing, or does it all stay on the east side?
If you can stay on the east side, I would live on the east side.
That's where we gotta make that decision.
Confirm that it's there.
Yes.
I can pick a firm one there. I think that's the
Well, there is no right of way there. There's several of these lines that there's no right of way.
Well, I'm just talking about this one.
Yeah.
East side.
Again, really what this comes down to is this develops, then the city has to make a decision on how we're going to address that.
I don't think we need more
But anyone,
But I think
if you've got facilities going all the way up North Rainbow, you would be good control on the side.
That's right.
it would be if we could get that.
Well,
But I think as development comes in, it's also looked at as where's the development happening. And I mean, this is Florida Village.
Well,
It's kind
that's
of one of
kind of
those
where I was
things
going
too.
to, is that the public hearing will show more primarily here.
Right.
Here, I can see, these people seem to be dead back.
Well, but what I see, this is the other component, is we have development on the corner, we have this, then we have this, okay? Once you get here, you lose it again, right? So you don't have it. This is all connected, so it's gonna be here, what I'm after is like cross over, so we get here, then we have to come back across the railroads.
Right, I don't know that we're getting this one rainbow because we have this right here and right here. And it goes, yeah, we're getting right here. So I think, as a commission, we also need to look at is it gonna travel along both sides of the rainbow? I don't know that it is. I think there are gonna be some spots where it ventures off and then picks up through a neighborhood and then it continues on like you see.
Well,
Right.
it comes down to this traffic light situation that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you get traffic lights.
Yeah, it is.
I don't disagree with it, also wants, you know, so like if we get that in the future, but I also don't disagree with looking at this and this is development coming in. And that's not going to be a trail. So I see it both ways. I don't know if you looked at this option. Have we done any?
Like grade your back on the north side, like the backyard is where.
You better work out.
Well, the back, like these homes, the grades on the yard, along the back up to this, the trail would be significantly higher. I think, like, a follow-up to that would be the word, falls to the on us, to the whole back of the wheel, so
Right.
And better place for that would be in that Rogers Water easement. Because it would all be on.
Which we don't have that on the map, you know, where that's at.
I don't think, we don't know if the church has got an easement acquired to deep, I think, in conversation.
Well, then I would say, do we want it right here or along it?
Well,
I mean, you could go along it.
I mean, my opinion is this is the appropriate spot.
It's a good crossing.
It's the optimal.
Right.
With, now this collector may not be right here, it may, you know, and flow, this is a solution. But with it, right, it gives us a crossing.
And if it were to come down here at all, you know, who knows in the future, that ends up being a pretty good connection all the way over there.
Trail.
That's a good pedestrian connectivity for a lot of subdivisions and stuff.
But if this is what it is, or something like this, which is off this property, which again, I don't disagree with it, right? It's just how we all get through it. Is that it does this shift of the line shift, because we only want to have that one crossing.
I think that would make sense. I would go along with property line, one or the other.
Or you may take this and move that to the property line?
I would think if where you're doing this, at least,
Back for a little more.
Yes.
Well, we don't know what this might look like.
Yeah, and they could lay out the streets.
Yeah.
Taylor, is there any opportunity, is there will there be a trail or is there anything in there in this subdivision that you might
We
be
don't
able
have
to
any,
get a connection, you know, stepped out for any future connection to the trail?
we don't have anything east west. So there's not room.
Is it just
You got homes all the way around.
Yeah.
I'm thinking north south, is there any like south? Or what's that trail and or sidewalk out here?
I don't know that specific, you're trying to get specific to that subdivision, like I live in a subdivision of the sidewalks. So my connection to the trail is through my street. And it's local streets, it's not that long cut through traffic, it's not, and most people ride that. So,
And this one area is probably gonna be.
where you want.
That's a jack on Hillcrest, I mean, I'm actually not familiar.
Where you want the side paths and pedestrian bike infrastructure is where your vehicle traffic is uncomfortable to ride. You want to make it safe and comfortable also.
I'm just saying for my future connection, we should have like access to it.
I think their connection is the street.
We're just gonna have to go all around the street.
Yeah, you leave your house and you're in the streets over there, and that gets you to that trail that goes along with it. You're in the first 200 feet.
Yeah.
We can't, it's similar to like a vehicle conversation, right? Like, you can't have arterial collectors everywhere, you do right, it makes sense to collect everybody, and then, use, local traffic. And if they are uncomfortable in the street, like, a child around the sidewalk. Like,
So there will still be a sidewalk there?
Yes.
What size?
it's a sidewalk.
I was looking at the map, it's like, it's from a while ago.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah.
This doesn't exist.
My house isn't even there.
So I guess beyond, like I said, we can confirm the regular conversation, that's pretty easy. And make sure that you all have enough room in the future to do that on the east side. And if you don't, then we can revisit the north-south version of the trail. I think that would be easiest for us to implement. I just don't think it's useful if you want to keep it all on the east side, and you have the ability to keep it on the east side. But
I want to say the east side was the most appropriate one around. Before, because the church has utilities on that side. And
I do believe this is probably, wherever that falls, is the most appropriate spot.
So when is it decided where that falls?
Whatever that
Yeah, like, whichever side develops first, say it's this big block, like, they'll be the ones that establish it. They know they've got a collector through their site, and they get to pick where it goes, as long as it connects here.
There's two
and here.
houses right there.
It doesn't really matter what's there, it's when this,
when they
when it becomes a subdivision, and that's gonna create, to Taylor's point, they're gonna establish, the intent is illustrated, it's gonna go from east to west. They really got that entire canvas, if you will, to say where it's gonna go. And then once they establish that with somebody else that conveys this, then they've got to connect to it to make that intent to get over it.
ideally, we all have it at one time.
Yeah.
But it's rarely an idea. Yeah.
Okay, does that satisfy the conversation related to active transportation?
Is the street section on board is only a 5
On our side.
I think that's where the conversation is. We do the the space is there, the right thing to do, in my opinion, is keep it on the east side. But we're going to create one intended crossing. But if there's not enough room to do this, then we can say, okay, well, if we have a crossover, we can shift to the west side.
Do we already have built out or?
We only have that. Yeah, well,
It goes like-
it's a short stub.
It goes like to the end. I was just wondering, does it overlap enough for it to actually cross?
Our corner basically, it's like.
It all looks like it's.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, we parcel lines.
To your point, there might be the.
I was just looking at that way. What I was thinking more is, if we needed to cross, could we, as a compromise, no here, you know, or we're not doing all that, but maybe there's some crossing situation that, because we have this subdivision developing out in the end. So if we did end up getting a turn on the other side, if we had to go on the other side and make it crossing, there's what we.
Yeah, I think it's just the streets.
You want to know if there's enough space to safely create a crossing at our southeast corner and the middle council as well.
Along with it, there's no directly side. Let's see if there's a have to cross, have that ability.
I guess that's one that could be either utilized or decommissioned based on the electric location at a future time. Oh, good.
Say that you are riding on board, it's cars come up pretty quick.
Yeah, we need to consider the running slope before and make sure side distances are okay with a little bit of crossing.
That's Alan's been.
Okay. Anything else on that?
Our future needs to treat.
Not for us.
What is it?
She asked if there's a future phase 2 or phase 3 coming up in the
Said,
city.
do we have another phase on it?
Hey, we love to buy land. If they sell that to the west, then we ought, you'll get your collector out of us after all.
And I'll ask you with that.
We would love to sell the rest of it.
I know.
Absolutely. Right now, I don't think that guy's very interested in it. He does support this project, but his responsibility is grass right now. But it's coming. I mean, it's inevitable. And it's not done. So it's interested in it. Our interest in it won't wane.
Just for the reservation is the 2016 conversation on trails. Never sell. Now it's been delayed. Exactly. Okay, so we kind of got, I think we're good now on the active transportation, so now what do we have left on the table?
I think that was the only
I mean,
questions that we were.
we would love a vote to approve conditions on everything, but if you all are comfortable with that, 2 more weeks, I would talk about it, doesn't scare us, and make sure the McClellan's comments are addressed. But if you're ready, everything else is, on the planning side, we feel like we're there. It's just working on technical stuff with McClellan, and we'll be that.
Well, I know from the planning commission's standpoint, we don't want to have a whole lot of limitations. And I don't know what quantity of, open items is this one.
Size of open items.
Right. I mean, that's my uneasiness with contingency, is just having left the open contingency. So, I'm going to defer to you for what do you see, what's your opinion on the matter? We don't want that, we don't want that to come from the
Works, sewer, water trucks, it should be this week. Now, how long that list is, or how big those items are, I don't think I can say that. What they have already addressed.
I think the plan is just to go with some of the assurances that, things don't get rubber stamped and just.
2 weeks, not a big deal. You'll be through it in 2 weeks.
I mean, I'll be through it this week.
Yeah.
With the current comments, and then we can get back to you guys and.
I didn't consider the actual voting session. Is there any way to vote at the work session?
We have to have the notice and all that type of thing to do that. Not that we can't do that. Just have to go through the legal steps to make sure it's. 15 days. Is that right?
What's the length of time for a notice that we have to give if we're gonna have a special call meeting? Isn't it 24 hours?
For special call.
If we were gonna have a special call meeting at the work session.
It's 24 hours.
Okay, so that was,
If it's an emergency call meeting, then those should be few and far between.
Yeah, well,
2 hour notice, but knowing in advance and planning for it, it should be at least 24 hours.
It's just a public hearing. It's 15 days, is that right?
yes, yeah. We've got public hearing.
Yes.
We're done all that. No public hearing required, and it's all preliminary plat done.
Nobody's catching anything with me saying there.
Commissioner, what do you? I'll have to sit down and have an action. Are all members?
And then we get all of the answers ahead of time, we talk about it.
Okay, so what is that work session? That's in 2 weeks. So we have to have a quorum. Is everybody going to be? We have to have this quorum this year. So everybody's planning to be here. We've got those things met. We can do that.
Okay, so.
I've already done it. Next week, and I will plan to be here.
And we'll just follow up with staff the first part of next week after we get the comments back from them and make sure we do all the more necessary legal steps to make it a special hearing on the work session.
Sit down and make that motion for basically tabling it and having a special session on the work session to address, allow engineering to finish up.
That's great.
Okay.
Back to places.
Back to.
I mean, we might discuss the need to approve. We've been discussing it.
I think it was.
Once the street plan was updated, we've been saying we need to update it, so it's not an unknown thing. So will you sit down, you'll update us on what you wanted for the guys to
All right, so I don't know how well people can hear online, but what we were looking at was the active transportation plan and how that might be impacted with the subdivision and what our master street plan illustrates. What we're looking at for this property for the subdivision here, these are still the engineering work that's going on. We want to have that work through. Engineering sounds like it's pretty close, but there's some answers that we want to see. We talk about the active transportation plans and work through that a little more, and allow McClellan and Craft Total to reconcile those different items. So at this point in time, we are going to look to table this request, but also have a public hearing, or have it an action, not a public hearing, but an action item, or an action meeting during the work, special call meeting for action during the work session in 2 weeks, on the 20th, at 6 p.m. So then we would start out with that special held meeting at 6, and then after that's done, we would move into work session. Okay? And as long as we've got a quorum, that should work. David, you'll put out a notice for that, so we haven't made any formal notice yet, just kind of walking through what we're going to do. Is if there's anything that I've missed, what I've stated. Alright, so what I'll do is, since I've stated all those things, I'll say to everybody else in the brief, we're trying to reiterate that. So I'm going to make a motion to table this, allowing engineering to work through the open items, work through the active transportation plan solutions there. And then we will look to have a public hearing, or a special call meeting, thank you, in 2 weeks, on the 20th, at 6 p.m. here. So that's the motion. Now, on the second motion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. This is tabled. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.
Appreciate it.
So I believe that's the last item of business as it relates to this planning commission meeting. Motion for adjournment. Now, been a motion to adjourn. Nancy, second that motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. We are now adjourned. Thank you all.
Sorry, who made the last two?
Me and Nancy.
Nancy.